If Google Docs feels scattered or just kind of all over the place for you, I want to say lovingly that this is super very common. I see this all the time with small business owners where the problem usually isn't that you're disorganized. It's that no one ever tells you what Google Docs is actually meant to be used for. So the fix is using Docs only for writing and documenting, not for tracking everything in your business. In this video, I'm going to walk through how Google Docs fits into a small business in simple, practical, realistic ways without turning it into another system that you have to maintain. So by the end of this, you will know what belongs in Google Docs, what doesn't, which is super important, and how to keep your documents useful without being overwhelming. So as we get into today's video, I want to go ahead and share my screen. And the first screen is actually going to be going to the Docs screen. With Google Docs, it's really about collaborative document creation. We talked about that it's really supposed to be for writing. So when I think of writing, I think of things like taking notes. I think of standard operating procedures or SOPs, really the step by step instructions of a different task that you do in your business, client documents, maybe checklists or outlines. So anything you need to read, edit, or share. If you've ever thought it and just said to yourself, like, I just need to write this down so I don't forget it, Docs is probably the right place. So right now you're looking at the Docs home screen, and you could see that you could start here with a blank document, or they actually have a template gallery. I actually have used a few of these before. So if you hit this template gallery, you'll be able to see all the templates that are there. So if you're looking for like meeting notes or, you know, more so like a project proposal or different things like that, you can utilize starting from a template instead of a blank document. And also, if you use other Google tools such as Sheets or Slides, you can also access it from that quick little toggle right there. If you love to see your documents in a grid view, you can go ahead and change the view here. I'm a list girly, so I love to see my documents in that type of view. So Google Docs, like I explained, works best for anything that involves writing or explaining. I also want to reiterate that it shouldn't be documents that you're like tracking constantly changing data. Live data shouldn't live here. It's meant to be read, written, and shared. As you can see, there's multiple documents that that you can also create here. So as I mentioned earlier, if you've definitely thought you need to write something down so you don't forget it, or you just don't want to continually start from scratch, this is the place for that type of information or managing things. When you're looking for a storage place for data or managing things that constantly change, your updating statuses and things of that nature, that's where a tool like Google Sheets works better. And we'll talk about that in another future video. Today's focus is mainly about Google Docs. So what I'm going to do now is actually share my screen again, but what I did was create a example doc to be able to show you what it'll look like if you don't start with just a blank doc. So what I created was an example of, say for instance, you were documenting your client onboarding process. So when you're thinking about that, the most important thing I want to say here is that your titles should actually be clear. There's an option to actually even add like a one sentence description under it. It's definitely optional, but I feel like it's powerful. Again, we're talking about ease, clarity, not being able to have perfect documents, but something that your future self will understand immediately. So instead of having something vague like notes or random thoughts, you can go up here and, be able to edit it to something very specific to whatever you're working on or want to refer back to in the future. So inside the document, you're going to see a few different things. So the first thing is I added some headings. And so what the headings do, and if you go here, you can definitely see that this is heading 1. You can go ahead and change the size. Maybe you want it bold, underline. You can, definitely update that to your preference. But more important here is that if you look on your left side of the document, now it's been really created this way for you to be able to click and get quickly to the scannable information that you need. So, in this also particular document, how I utilized different features to kind of make it more organized was also adding things like bullets. Maybe you have sub text that you want to add. So if you want to go up here, change the type of bullets that you see. Maybe you want to add check marks instead. Sometimes I do that when I have like a document that is, more action driven, like, and I want to be able to, again, I'm a list girly, so I love to like check things off. Maybe you want to add another tab. Maybe tab 1 is about the purpose. Maybe tab 2 is the steps. You can go ahead and also rename that here as well. But really, the goal here is not to have a perfect document. The goal is to, inside the document, keep things simple, short sections, clear headings, easy to scan formatting. It's a way of simple because the goal is that you can open this 6 months from now and immediately understand what it's for. So I also would be totally remiss if I didn't mention that sometimes we'll create documents when everything lives in one document with no structure. Nothing is technically wrong in that document, but here's the issue. It's hard to use, it's hard to scan, and it's easy to avoid. Like, definitely run in and run back out type of document. So that's why it's super important to have like clarity and structure when you're creating your Google Docs. So I would love to share that if you're building systems as a small business owner and want really like these calm, practical tutorials around Google Workspace, ClickUp, AI, and workflow tools, you'll probably want to subscribe. If you haven't already, you may even like the video. What that does, it tells YouTube that this is a video that others need to see and pushes it to the people that need to see the video that it can help and support. So in the future, I'll be sharing weekly systems help, Google Workspace walkthroughs, and really importantly, ease first workflows that are practical for real everyday use and don't feel heavy. But one last thing before I go is I want to actually head on over to another share screen. I want to go ahead and share my Google Drive screen. So what I'm going to and why I'm going to share Google Drive is, so a lot of what I also see with small business owners is that you'll get into Drive and it'll be, and obviously I cleaned up my Drive a bit, so it looks a little organized right now. But typically you'll go into Drive and there will be like just all these random docs, because when you're doing Google Documents, everything is saved to my Drive. So when everything lives in the same place, docs can start to feel chaotic, even if the documents themselves are fine. So more or less, what I want you to we're not going to get into it because that's a future video, but this is what I'd love to share with Google Drive in the future is like, so I'm cleaning mines up and preparing for this particular year. So creating some type of structure so that there's not just loose docs all over the place. Remember what I shared earlier is that we want to be able to help our future self 6 months from now, or if we're requesting or being requested documents, you're able to quickly put a pulse on it. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to organize Google Drive so your documents actually have a clear home. So I want you to leave with this feeling of docs should support your business, not become another system that you need to manage. So as always, I'm cheering you on. Love y'all.